Greetings and salutations, and welcome to Ref the District, episode 229. We've got the Washington Commanders beginning mandatory minicamp. They're doing so without Terry McLaurin, and we got plenty of Terry McLaurin stats to get you when we get to the game. We're going to be talking about all things minicamps, all the stories over the last couple of days. That's going to make up what we're talking about during the bulk of the show. We're going to cool down, though. Probably not so much cool down because I've got some beef with some people. So we're going to be talking about our rivalries as Washington fans and how they've diminished over the last 3 decades, but we're about to see a resurgence because Washington isn't going to be the little brother you can just pick around anymore. So that will be our cool down topic. And then here in the warm up, it's the big guys, the big gents in the middle of the line and on the end of the line, on both sides of the line. Nope, just the offensive line this time round, guys. Stoner and I ranked the NFC East, and despite Philadelphia fans and their lack of media literacy, we did in fact rank the Washington Commanders second and the Philadelphia Eagles number 1. Trev,
what up?
You always get to come on here. I love that you get to come in on Wednesday's show, talk about the video that we put out Monday, the content that we put out Monday, and kind of have a good feeling because Wednesdays we do our lives here 7:30 Eastern every time, YouTube and Facebook. But we like to put out contents on Mondays as well. So here we are live, and we get your opinion as well as all the people like Locked On Law. Luis is out here, Franchise Talk, Trey from Central Florida out here as well, Roger in here. We appreciate everybody. Make sure you're hitting that like button, especially if you like what Trev's about to tell us about his NFC East rankings on that offensive line.
It's funny because I just literally sent these two gentlemen in the group chat on Twitter a video that we've had him on the show, I think, Anthony Rivardo. He talks, I think it's Fireside Giants. He's a really, really good guy to all your Giants info. He posted a video of, Russell Wilson and them doing 7-on-7, and the caption was triple threat. They had Thibodeau, Abdul Carter, and Brian Burns rushing Russell Wilson, and in real time it would have been a sack by all three. Pick your choosing. They were all there. And I said to them, if this is their starting line, week 1, they're cooked. So that's why I'm putting them, just by that video alone, last. Just because they've always had offensive line problems, even when Daniel Jones was there, even when Saquon was there. Saquon was nasty, always against us, no matter what. But he wasn't quite as nasty, which brings me to my third rank would be Dallas.
Wait, before you leave the Giants there, Trev.
Yeah.
You know where that offensive line is ranked in terms of money paid? Their salaries for their offensive line. Where do you think they are 1 through 32?
2. Probably like 11 or 12.
3. They're the third highest paid offensive line in the entire NFL. And
they
are a hot mess.
I had never seen somebody draft somebody with the name of Evan Neal, who was a stud coming out of school, and they're still trying to figure out where he's playing. That's crazy. And that's like 4 or 5 years ago. But anyways, so they're last. Third, Dallas, just because, I don't know, it's Dallas. Then you got us. And then you got Philly at first. And the reason why I'm putting Philly first is because they made Jalen Hurts look like a stud back there. Saquon Barkley accumulated over 2,000 yards this season. Got MVP or whatever almost. Cover of Madden, Super Bowl, like the hurdle over somebody, like that offensive line. Howie Roseman, shout out to him. They built that team through the trenches, then out, from the inside out, and it showed. It paid off. Now you've got everybody else in the division in the league trying to model after Philadelphia because they've been there the past several years. So, yeah, Philly first, us second, just because of Jayden Daniels and the amount of time the offensive line gave him to do what he did. Now, 80% was Jayden, but at least 20% was the offensive line. They got Eckler going too a little bit. We just need to B-Rob to figure out how to read the line. Maybe he can be explosive, but we're number 2 because we're definitely better than Dallas. They just need a running back, and then Giants is just poopy. So, yeah, Philly Washington,
Yeah,
Dallas.
Dallas in terms of investment, Trev, they've gone 3 years in a row now with their first round pick being on the offensive line.
Yeah,
they just lost
number one.
a legendary guy out in Martin. So it's just
Right.
it's going to be interesting where Dallas kind of fits into this. They're a little bit younger. Booker is an unknown. I mean, no different than Connerly. We don't really know where he's going to go. But Andrew Wiley actually performed very well. So if Connerly stumbles, I feel pretty confident in Wiley being a replacement level at least for the right tackle position. The Giants are really rough. Like it's just so I don't feel bad for them because they're in the division, but it is just kind of funny just how much like they're trying to solve the problems and just how much they just keep digging a hole. And then Philadelphia. I agree. They're the top line. Philadelphia fans going off in the comment section about how I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, I put Philadelphia first. So I guess I don't know what I'm talking about, gentlemen. And I put Philadelphia first. So again, Philadelphia fans, media literacy aside, they have the names. They have Mulata. They have Lane Johnson. They have, the Cam Jurgens. They have the worst guy, Steen. Yeah. Right. And he's pretty good. He's pretty good. So it's just, they've invested heavily in that line. Mulata is kind of an anomaly. He was a late round guy, but he was
undrafted.
7th round, actually.
Oh, he was a 7th rounder? I thought he was undrafted. But
I was looking up that. So but still, way back at the end of the draft, but he was a developmental guy. They liked his size. He was somebody who, kind of came in late to football, and he's thriving. And they've got a great line. I mean, they helped Saquon get to 2,000 yards. He was always capable of it, but that requires a lot of good things happening. And then Hurts, I think he's a solid QB. I think he's he can be a really good QB. And they're helping him get into the conversation of top 5 QB in the league. Yeah. And maybe there's some parallels here we can draw to the Terry McLaurin conversation we're going to have later on in the game. But sorry, Jalen Hurts, there's not, even though I'm a big fan of his, thanks to Boomer Sooners, I can't like him now because he's in that midnight green or Kelly green or whatever green they're wearing. But there's just nothing exciting about his play that makes you scream top 5 quarterback. No. And so he's really being carried by the fact that they has a solid offensive line and some great wide receiver threats. And so Philadelphia, great. There's no doubt about it. Washington, though, I don't think is as far behind as those Philadelphia fans would make you believe. And a lot of those metrics point to Washington having a better year. Now, you kind of hit the nail on the head there, Trev. A lot of that is because one, Jayden Daniels. Yeah. He is the factor that makes everything better, including the offensive line, because while there was some change over in the line, you still had, kind of you had big questions about it going into the year, but they actually performed pretty well. The running backs, like you said, Brian Robinson didn't do him justice, probably because they averaged less than a yard before contact. The running backs were, I think I don't have the stats in front of me, but they were getting hit, I think, at like 0.8 yards before contact. That's not a lot. That's like taking a step in front of you, and that's where you're getting hit. That's not very good.
I think what's interesting about the NFC East and the offensive line is what you said a little bit earlier, Nathan, is about how the Cowboys have invested into their offensive line, and everybody in the NFC East has done a lot of investment into their offensive line in terms of draft picks. All of the Eagles guys are draft picks. All of the Cowboys guys are draft picks. I believe 4/5 of the Giants are their own draft picks. And then you have over here in Washington, depending on what you're going to see at the start, you only have maybe 2 guys who are draft picks, and that's going to be Coleman and Cosme once everybody's healthy. Everyone else is guys they brought in.
And Connolly.
Wiley, Connerly, you're right.
I thought he was coyly leaving that out for a segue into a conversation about how this offensive line's going to look.
No, but I think the biggest move made in this offseason by anybody in the NFC East, maybe you can say the Pickens move in Dallas is big, but bringing Laramie Tunsil in to Washington is probably the biggest move of the offseason in the NFC East, and instantly makes Washington's offensive line, which, as you guys both said, was kind of hidden. Their flaws were hidden by the greatness of Jayden Daniels. That just improves them and doesn't force Jayden to be Superman anymore, or as much of a Superman as he had to be this past year. So that's really going to help this offensive line. But having said all that, that's a huge move, drafting Connerly big. I just still think that Philadelphia is just on another level, and people want to say, it's just reputation. Well, the reputation is earned. They've earned that reputation by having last year 4/5 of their offensive line were at a minimum Pro Bowlers. You had 2 Pro Bowlers and 2 All Pros, first team All Pros. That's a fantastic offensive line. And then the guy they lost, Mekhi Becton, goes out to the Chargers and gets $20 million. And they bring in a guy, as you mentioned, Nathan Steen, who another draft pick, he's going to fit right in because he's played a lot due to injuries and he's played very well. So they have a reputation for being a good offensive line or a great offensive line, and it's well deserved and well earned. Washington did make a huge step on the offensive line, but I still think it's a level below Philadelphia.
Yeah, Philadelphia, by most metrics, does have one of the top lines. Like when you're looking at all the different variables, they have some weaknesses as well. And there is absolutely some people who would argue they're not as good as their reputation. But when you watch the games, what you see, what's played, they won a Super Bowl by and large from both sides of the line.
Yep.
And the offensive line being a big part of why that was the case. But Washington, Trev, investing heavily, probably the most into their offensive line than any other team in the league. Trading for Tunsil, spending a first-round pick. Like they wanted to make sure, and by all rumors, shifting last year's 3rd-round pick to the inside, replacing a free agent that Stoner loves. How do you see the offensive line shaping up this year? Who are the 5 starters this year, Trev?
You got Big Laramie Tunsil. LT is the LT. Then you're going to have second-year man Brandon Coleman from TCU right there at left guard. Then you're going to have Tyler Badass as the center that he is, the badass that he is. And then you're going to have Nick Allegretti at right guard. Saw some video evidence of that. That's why I'm saying that. And then right tackle. You guys ready for this? It's early June, no pads. But Josh Connolly is going to be the right tackle.
Week 1,
with Andrew Wiley being the backup to either replace Allegretti or Connolly. But Connolly is going to take that right tackle spot until Cosme comes back, and then
I think it's going to be interesting over there on that right side at right tackle because the biggest knock against Connerly is his strength.
Right.
He's a young guy and he's got all of the talent. He's got the footwork. He's got the skills, but he just doesn't necessarily have the strength yet. And I think when you get to training camp and these guys start putting pads on, that's where it's going to become evident. Because right now they're not hitting, right? They're doing moves and they're doing, things to where they're not getting into the chest of the offensive lineman. And I think that's where he's going to show his weakness is in training camp. So I told
Nathan that
I think the first few weeks it's going to be Wiley at right tackle.
Yeah.
But Connerly will come in and get some snaps here and there, a series here, a series there, like Coleman did at left tackle last year. Right? Kind of a platoon to get him. Don't just throw. Who's week one? Who do they got week one?
Giants.
So you're just going to throw Josh Connerly Jr. out there against grown-ass men from the Giants like Thibodeau and Brian Burns.
Abdul Carter.
And Abdul Carter.
Well, he's already faced Abdul Carter.
Mm-hmm.
And
okay, but you know what I'm saying. And Lawrence.
Hold on. We didn't spend our 29th pick to draft a little cowardly. I don't want to put him out there yet.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
We're gonna put him out there no matter who we playing because he's our first overall pick and he's gonna earn that.
Yeah,
he's gonna outshine.
I'll take a bet.
I'll take a bet. Week one, Josh Connerly will be the starting right tackle on the depth.
Put $1 on it.
Put $1 on it. I say Wiley will be there. Injury caveat, though, right? If either one of them are injured,
avoid, sure.
But
I have to agree with Roger here. I think what we're going to see is a little bit of what we saw last year with Coleman.
Mm-hmm.
Connerly and Wiley are going to split time, is what Roger's saying, just like we saw last year. I think that's smart. I think it is. I think it keeps both players healthy, keeps them fresh. We saw that they were able to do that in an up-tempo offense too. So it wasn't like it was, a series type. You get this series, I get this series. I mean, they did some of that, sure, but there was a lot of switching out just during certain plays, and I think that is exciting because it's going to get Connerly in a position where he can do it, unless the kid just absolutely is fantastic right out the gate, and then they're like, "Yeah, why, Andrew, I'm just gonna ask you to hold this Gatorade for me, okay?" And then
what's crazy to think about too, after this year and maybe next year, we have an offensive line problem. Somebody's got to go.
Well, okay, so we actually talked about that on that video, Trev. What does it look like, injuries aside? What does it look like week one of 2026 season? What does the offensive line look like?
You got Tunsil, Coleman. They love Tyler Badass. Those three are staples. They might even extend Tyler Badass. Right guard. Oh, man.
Well, what you mean, ooh, man? Cosme's got a brand new contract.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting about Cosme.
A lock once he comes back.
Cosme, Connerly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
And then I think you keep.
Why would you jettison quality backups? Like, this is what's gotten us in the problem before is you've been thin at depth. Allegretti would be a perfect backup.
I know, but
Wiley would be a great backup. I mean, goodness gracious, both of them spent most of their times as backups. Then they come here and they're put into a starting role and they're fine.
Maybe they all resigned them for a year or two.
Well, Wiley's on his last year, and Allegretti's got 2 more years.
Yeah, Wiley's also getting older, and we've seen the Lucases and the Trent Scotts sign on for a little bit. So let them stay on for a nice vet deal to be the backup tackle in case something happens to one of your stud tackles. Like, keep investing into the line. If Philadelphia has shown us something, Locked On Law had brought this up earlier. Philadelphia didn't just magically come up with this great offensive line. They spent years. Howie Roseman has been there for a decade, and he's just been putting draft pick after draft pick until they got an offensive line that some consider to be the best. AP is going to be doing the same thing. Adam Peters ain't going to be like, "Oh, look at this. We got a great 5 guys. I'm going to spend it on some luxury picks." I guarantee you, in the next 5 years, we're going to see a lot of offensive linemen being drafted in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah,
just keep doing it.
And especially, again, in the NFC East, all you have to do is look at what's across the line of scrimmage in all these teams. And we just talked about the Giants with Lawrence, Carter, Burns, and Thibodeau. And then the Cowboys, of course, with crazy Micah Parsons over there, right? And the Eagles with Jalen Carter and the other big fella right there at the tackle, Jordan Davis. Those you gotta do something about that. That's 6 games every year that you're gonna have to face those defensive lines.
That matter.
You absolutely have to continue to invest in the offensive line, and everybody knows that. And that's why you go out and you get a Laramie Tunsil, right? That's why you go and you draft a Josh Connerly Jr. So they know it, and they've been doing it, and they got to continue to do it. The problem is, sure, you want to keep Andrew Wiley around. Andrew Wiley's not going to just sit there and say, okay, I've been a starter for the last 6 years of my career. I'm just going to sign a backup deal. He's not doing that.
Right.
He's going to go somewhere where he's got a chance to start, and that's not here, right? He doesn't have a chance to start here, all things being equal in terms of injuries and all that.
Sure.
All that.
You just named the 5 guys across the line, Trev. That's the perfect scenario for Adam Peters. Is Laramie Tunsil, Brandon Coleman, Tyler Biotish, Sam Cosme, Josh Connerly Jr.
Yeah.
You want that for the next 5 years.
Yeah, that's a nice.
You don't want Wiley, and you don't want Trent Scott, and you don't want Dieter, and that dude from Pittsburgh they brought over. I've already forgotten his name.
Nate Herbig.
Yeah, Herbig. You don't want those. You want those guys as backups. Allegretti's. As much as I like him, you've invested into that line, and that's what you want for those 5 guys for the next 5 years.
So let me bring back Sweezy's comment here. Sweezy's Squad Gaming asking, who is the Commanders' worst guy on the offensive line? Now,
Michael Dieter.
Try not to get too deep. Just go with the supposed starting 5, or you can maybe pick somebody who might be seeing significant time based because Sam Cosme's injury, or maybe somebody else stepping in for extended snaps.
Michael Dieter.
Well,
You're going to go with the backup center. How about one of the starting 5, Trev? Who's the worst one of the starting 5?
Is that counting Cosme, or is that?
I would count as Cosme's replacement. So Allegretti, if he's going to start out there, or Wiley.
Yeah, probably Wiley.
So you guys got 7 guys you can take from. Out of those 7, who's your worst?
Yeah, probably. I'm gonna go Wiley.
He's going with Wiley.
Yeah, I guess.
I've probably got Allegretti, and I like Allegretti, but these other guys are legit, assuming that they are who we think they are. I mean, there's no doubt about Tunsil, right? Now, my hot take, you want a Tunsil hot take for you?
Sure.
Brandon Coleman starts week 1 at left tackle.
Yeah, right.
Because Laramie Tunsil isn't ready. He's the guy didn't attend any OTAs, right?
Bobby Johnson.
Wait, listen.
No, I know, and he gets a vet day today. I know.
He went to 1 OTA, and he already needs a vet day. What is that all about?
It's Laramie Tunsil, bro.
Well, let's not forget he had 19 penalties last year, right? I believe 12 were in the first 4 games.
Yeah, it was a bad.
Maybe get your butt into camp and get in shape and get ready for the season. But no, I'm just kind of.
That's a bit. It's a bit. It's a bit. Yeah.
But I mean, Laramie Tunsil, he's a top 5 left tackle in the game.
Yeah.
And if you have Coleman there, and he is who you hope he is, right? A 3rd-round pick who played a lot of left tackle last year. And you have Biotish. We all know Biotish, how good he is. Cosme, obviously, is virtually right on that line of being a Pro Bowler. And then you got a number 1 draft pick, a top 30 draft pick in Josh Connerly Jr. So if that's your line, then you would have to say that Allegretti within that group, even though what I just gave you, he's a backup, but he'd be starting at right guard. He's probably the worst. And I like him. And I like Allegretti. So that says a lot about the other guys, at least in my eyes.
I think that's fair. And I would be interested in seeing who the worst of the 5 is as far as the actual starting. So Sam Cosme included that, not including Wiley or Allegretti, because I do think Allegretti is probably the answer for that. I do think Wiley gets a bad rap because he was not great his first year here with Washington, but the offense wasn't great the first year.
Because you had Sam Howell back there, essentially he was on record pace. Remember, for sacks, he was about to be sacked 120 some odd times, right? Early on in the season. And so, and part of that's Wiley's fault, but part of that's obviously was Sam
When
Howell's
you look
fault.
at the percentage snaps, not just the raw statistics for Wiley, he ended up being pretty decent. Again, I don't like to go to bat for a player who's mid, but I just stop throwing the hate when it's not completely justified. I would actually say I wonder if at the end of the year we see Biotish as the weak link for the offensive line. And this is coming to me because I recently rewatched the end of the Tampa Bay playoff game.
Okay.
And remember, Jayden Daniels secured the first down off of a run and a stiff arm. And it was because that middle of the line got blown to pieces, and the Tampa Bay rusher could only manage to grab the towel. But he was back there to make the play. And when you look at it, he just absolutely it was like the interior of that offensive line wasn't there. I'm hoping that Brandon Coleman.
And you were talking about Biotish and Cosme at that time, who were supposedly essentially your two best offensive linemen at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it got blown up.
Yeah, and so I'm hoping with improved guard play that it'll help out Biotish, because what Biotish brings that the backups don't bring is a lot more continuity and the coverage, or the blocking scheme, right? Because he is so much better heads and shoulders above the people behind him, and being able to identify blitzes, being able to identify shifts and everything like that. And we saw that when he went out. As much as Michael tried his hardest, he just couldn't replace it. Now, I don't like ending on negatives, gents, so we're going to end on a positive here. How many Washington offensive linemen will end up in the Pro Bowl or get all pro nods this year after Jayden Daniels once again makes Washington's offense elite? So, Trev's given the one.
Yeah.
One.
I'm with you, Trev. Yeah, I agree.
Just Tunsil.
Yeah,
I agree.
I would like to see two, and I think then if we could have two Pro Bowlers and indoor all pros, then we can start to maybe unseat those Philadelphia Eagles at the top. But currently, not going to happen. It's going to take some work, and that's exactly what they are doing right now in Ashburn. It's mandatory fun and mandatory minicamp underway. Without Terry McLaurin, we've got all the news and notes for you right here on Ref the District. Stay with us. Welcome to the game here on episode 229, Mandatory Fun. We're going to be talking a lot about Terry McLaurin, but probably the biggest news to come out for today's thing was Noah Brown was carted off the field today. So one, we wish him all the best in getting healthy and make sure it's not serious and anything like that. But that coupled with Gallup having a hamstring injury, that wide receiver room's starting to look a little bit thinner than what it did in the last couple of weeks during the OTAs and phase 3 and all this kind of other stuff. What do you two make of Noah Brown's injury right here in June?
Well, it sucks because it's most likely a non-contact injury, because it was a little bit of contact, but not a whole lot. You hear from reporters that he threw his helmet off in frustration. And if anybody knows sports like we know sports, when you see that, or, in basketball, they slap the floor, and baseball, they throw their helmet or the bat, that they know it's something serious. We hope it's not, but we kind of look at their reaction, and judging by that reaction doesn't sound too good. So I guess we'll find out tomorrow later this week what's going on with that. But on the football side, here we go again. People are saying, we don't catch the Hail Mary without him. Yes, I know that, but after that, what did he do really? I mean, before that, he was catching first downs, he was catching passes, but now you're being recognized as a stat for drawing the most DPIs in the season, which is cool, but that's not really what you want to be known for. If that's the only thing you want to be known for, and he wasn't available. Hate to say it, but this is his MO. his entire career. And I'm not trying to talk down on him or behind his back or anything like that, but I'm just stating facts. He's been injured every year almost, no matter where he's played. He's been on 3 or 4 teams already. I think we're the 3rd or 4th team. Great hands when he's available, great size when he's available, but the key to him is when he's available. And everybody says the best ability is availability. So, like we said, prayers up, hope it's not serious, but it's repeating what happened last year. It's repeating what happened to him in Houston while he left. It's repeating what happened in Dallas while he left. I'm just over that. And I started up there. I think JG said his overreaction. If this injury is serious enough to keep him out of the entire preseason, go ahead and release him. I'm going to go ahead and piggyback that. We're trying to win now, and this is a second chance, and unfortunately it's been blown. And if he's missing the whole preseason, we got to go. There's other people out there we can get off the street from other teams that are going to be cut soon after camp and during camp. So whatever. Michael Gallup, understandable. He's been out of the game for like a year or two. He's probably still literally trying to get back in shape as he's trying to make a squad. So that is what it is. Kind of disappointing to hear because hamstrings are one of the most nagging injuries in all of sports, no matter what sport you play. Look, we saw it with Lattimore, what we get to later, last year. So that sucks for him. But the Noah Brown thing, I'm kind of over it now, man.
Let me address a couple of things that you said there, Trev. Like, first of all, and I know you didn't say this, you were repeating it, that others were saying this, is that you don't get the Hail Mary without Noah Brown. Yeah, actually you do, because Noah Brown didn't do anything special, right? He was standing where he was supposed to be standing, which is great, but let's not act like he did something special on that play, okay? But you know, he still has a place where we're going to look back on this in 20 years and we're going to remember Noah Brown.
Yes.
As the guy basically who turned this. I mean, he didn't do it, but the memory is that this was the moment that our franchise turned, right? And everything started to come together for this franchise. We were no longer cursed. We were no longer the laughing stock. Good things can come to us as Commanders fan. And that was the moment that did it. But, you know, he was in the place where he was supposed to be. And if that had been Luke McCaffrey or whatever, then Luke McCaffrey would have caught it because he didn't have to make a special play. He just stood there and went, "Oh my God, there's a ball landing."
Really, it was Stevenson from the Bears who makes that play happen with both showboating beforehand and then being the guy who tips the ball over to Noah Brown.
I would give Zach Ertz more credit than Noah Brown on that play because Zach Ertz is the one that was right in the middle of that, tipping the ball up. That was the first thing. I hope I remember the other two that you talked about, Trev, but I thought he was fantastic when he was healthy through the course of the year. He was going to end up as the number 2 wide receiver when the season was done if he did get hurt. But he did get hurt, and that is his MO. That is why he's on his 4th team, whatever it is, because he can't stay healthy. However, the last point I wanted to address on that, to say if he's not ready by the end of training camp to release him,
preseason,
or by the end of preseason, release him. Why? You have to pay him, right? Number one, you have to pay him for the year. You've given him guaranteed money, but if he's not ready, wouldn't it be great that in week 6 you bring in a healthy Noah Brown?
No.
How does that hurt your team to have Noah Brown available in the wings to come in week 6 when so-and-so is all banged up and thank God Noah Brown is now healthy?
Because there's more serviceable guys out there that are more productive than Noah Brown too.
There's not.
To be honest.
There's not.
Keenan Allen still needs the job.
Oh, you're talking about now you're talking about bringing other guys in. That's not what
they're available. I'm not waiting for. No, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, don't worry. In week 6, he'll be back. We could be 1-5 by then. Oh, but guess what? Noah Brown's back. Like it's Noah Brown. Okay, it's not like it's
okay. Now
DJ
hear me
Moore
out on this.
Chicago or
hear me out on this though, Trev.
Brad McConkey.
They could. Who's out there right now? Amari Cooper's out there. Keenan Allen's out there. Give me a couple. Are there a couple others? Okay. The Commanders had a chance to sign them instead of Noah Brown.
Bro.
Noah Brown was a free agent as well. He was in the same boat as these other guys.
Bro.
They chose Noah Brown for a reason. They didn't just say,
Yeah, because
Noah Brown.
they
Right?
want to give their guys a chance to see what they can. Bro, this okay. Wait,
It don't work like that.
Whatever you're about to say, no, because his time is it's over with. It's done. We've seen this. It's not going to change. It's his MO. I don't even know why they brought him back. I don't even know why they brought KJ Osborne back. Like those are two receivers I've always been questioning. Why are we bringing them back? Noah Brown, this is what he does. So this is my opinion.
Talented.
A waste of it. Cool. Hunter Renfro's talented. He just came back and joined the Panthers.
So why didn't they sign Hunter Renfro or
because we have
Keenan
Deebo
Allen?
Samuel and we have Jalen Lane and we already have that spot there.
Okay. So why are we worried about releasing him then?
Because it's Noah Brown. He's been injured every year of his career.
All right.
He hasn't finished the season, bro. Why do we want to just keep those guys around if we're in win now mode when they can't even be ready to win now?
Well, I mean, if you're saying that he's never had a healthy season and that's his MO is never to play a full season, but he plays well when he is available, wouldn't then just keeping him for when he's going to be available? Because he's already missed the part of the season he was going to miss, right?
No,
like you'd figure, I mean, obviously he could get re-injured or something like that.
If it's Deebo Samuel, yes. If it's George Pickens or CeeDee Lamb, yes. If it's Darius Slayton or Malik Neighbors, yeah. But it's Noah Brown.
What if it's Jamison Crowder?
No.
Well, that's what they did last year. They kept Jamison Crowder around for 6-8 weeks, whatever it was, until he was healthy. And they could have gone out and gotten other guys.
And what they do? Did they bring him back this year after that?
No.
Did they bring him? Okay, then.
But they did Noah Brown.
Exactly. And now we're right back in the same boat as we were last year. It's just now it started a little bit earlier in the season rather than halfway through the season.
I think it's crazy to just jettison a guy if at some point he's going to be healthy.
It's Noah Brown.
Right.
3 teams, by the way, Dallas, Houston, and Washington.
I'm not bringing in
Keenan
Allen
season in 2019
to replace him. Then give somebody else a chance on the roster, Ja'Marr Brooks or whatever.
Well, let's actually talk about that. Who is going to get this chance? You don't have Terry McLaurin out there who is taking minicamp snaps right now. Noah Brown goes down with injury today. You have Gallup, who's not out there because of a hamstring injury. So who now has the opportunity to show that they should be in this wide receiver room and potentially being seen to see snaps? Because Terry's going to get signed. He's going to come back. You got
okay.
We'll get to that in a moment.
All right. That's what I wanted.
Okay. Debo is there. Okay. So Noah Brown, that we'll get to that as well. Noah Brown is now gone for who knows how long. Pup, IR. He was mad. He threw his helmet down on the ground. He needed to be carted off. It does not look good.
No,
does not look good. You got Gallup with the hamstring injury. You can't beat Gallup, who was out of the league before he came here with a hamstring injury. If you can't beat him, I don't have high hopes for you. So who is it? Is it going to be Lane? Is it going to be Luke McCaffrey? Is it going to be somebody else out there? Who's taking those snaps and is going to shine?
Well, so far they're saying Chris Moore is being a camp standout right now. Veteran.
Chris Moore, this year's District Diamond.
Yep. KJ Osborne, I see he has a chance. Then it's Luke and Jalen Lane. And that's it. So you got to do something because Terry is not signed yet. Right now, Debo is wide receiver 1. Luke McCaffrey is wide receiver 2.
Yeah.
KJ Osborne's probably 3. Jalen Lane's probably 4. And so forth. And then you got Ja'Marr Brooks and Chris Moore and all them. That's what it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you guys, but until Terry gets signed, that's what we go into with a week 1. Right now, that's our starting wide receiver group week 1, as of right now. I know everybody's saying Terry will get signed. I know Nathan just said that. We don't know. What AP said was back in March, and things have changed since March. But we'll get to that. So right now, guys, we need wide receiver help. Kind of makes you think that, well, if an aging Deebo Samuel is your wide receiver 1, and Luke McCaffrey, who barely caught 10 balls, is your wide receiver 2, and then
But
you
man,
have
did
a
he run
Jag,
some routes.
right? Then you have a Jag in there as KJ Osborne, and then you bring in a rookie in Jalen Lane, who so far all he has is speed. You're really going to depend on Jayden Daniels to be Superman again.
Yeah. So sometimes
Not
we
good.
gotta stop listening to others and start. You just said an aging Deebo Samuel. He's 28 years old.
Football years, he's aging, bro.
He's okay. He's got more wear and tear on him,
Okay,
but he's not Zach Ertz.
that's fine.
He's not 34 years old and has
That's
been in the
fine.
league for 15
For
years.
wide receivers, he's aging.
This is like
he's younger
year
than Terry
7
right
for him.
That's fine.
We just got to kind of,
Okay,
he's not
maybe not
aging.
aging, but a less
How about-
productive. Deebo
Okay, how about
Samuel.
this? How about a fat Deebo Samuel? Okay, there you have something.
Okay,
I don't like what I'm seeing out of Deebo right now, to be honest.
camera adds 10 pounds, and everybody knows.
Okay. Okay,
That video,
well,
he does look a little bit large.
Still, he's that much larger than all the other people who also apparently have 10 extra pounds because of the camera. I don't like it. He doesn't look explosive to me. It's June. We're months away from the start of the season, and I do believe that he will get to the point that he needs to be ready for the season. But right now, let's stop defending him. And for this point, he is too heavy right now. He is too heavy to be explosive the way that we need him to be explosive. He just is. Okay? I'm not saying he's going to be heavy come September when they play their first game. Right. But right now he is. Sorry. I'm giving you an honest feedback on what I've seen from Deebo Samuel. He does not look explosive right now.
Okay.
That's
my
what
whole
I'm worried
point.
about. That's what I'm worried about.
Point. And
I might have derailed what we were trying to talk about, what Nathan's subject was, which is who's going to get the snaps with Terry not there, with Noah hurt, and Gallup not even getting it. But, I just don't want us to kind of give him a pass at this point.
Well, he's there.
Well, I
at least he's there. I'll give you that.
What happened between this Wednesday and was it 2 Wednesdays ago that we had a picture of Deebo Samuels and the dude was looking jacked, looking healthy, looking, not like muscly and trim. And now all of a sudden, Deebo is thick, not fat. Now, JG, watch out here.
That's true.
Watch out, because we found out those 2 episodes ago or so, you can't call a guy thick.
Oh, you can't? Oh.
A man can't call another man thick. That's what I was told.
Bro, it's a difference in camera. That was professional camera on his Instagram. This is iPhone 11 cameras on the training field by beat reporters.
I have to say, out of all the things we're talking about over it's June. We're going to have some fun with this. Hyperbole is the name of the game. I trust me when I tell you, you want us to go one way or the other. You really don't want Nathan even to be milk toast. You don't want me to just sit there and be like, oh, it's going to be fine. Because it's June. We're like 3 months away from real football. Like, we have to be crazy. Deebo's not fat, though. He's not. He did look slow.
He's heavier.
He's heavy. He's heavy. That's what I actually have to say too, because Jazzy doesn't like when I call myself fat. So I'm like, I'm heavy. I've gotten heavier, which I have.
Right. Yeah.
I got to trim some pounds down. Maybe Deebo has to.
Yeah, of course he does.
I am also not concerned that he's running a little bit sluggish.
Yeah.
Because he's fat.
Oh my, that's funny because he had clips out last week and nobody said anything about it. But this one clip today, now all of a sudden,
people losing their minds. Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
Don't even get me started on another picture thing that we
listen. It's fair criticism. It's fair criticism because watching him in those clips, and all we get are a few clips here and there. We're not out there. We're not seeing it. But you can just tell when you watch him and you watch the other guys run routes, he's just not explosive right now. That doesn't mean he's not going to be.
Well, maybe they're
So
not
we
even
just have
doing
to
100% full speed.
Okay. I think
I'm
he's not
sick
going
of this
100%.
man getting on here talking about how players are fat, how they don't like their character as people, all this stuff. Stoner is just being just
because I'm a realist. You guys will just defend to the death.
Too. He's out there working hard just like everybody else is.
Laramie Tunsil is taking a day off after one practice.
That's not our fault.
That's crazy to
they
me.
Know
That's
what they
crazy
doing.
To me.
He doesn't have to compete for his spot. They said that weeks and weeks ago. Bobby Johnson just said it a few days ago.
No, of course he doesn't.
Natalie
have
was like, "Oh, competition." He was like, "No. Larry Tunsil has his spot."
Okay, so why does he need a day off already?
He's a vet. It's a vet day off.
Right, but why does he need a vet?
What other vet on the offensive line needs a day off?
What? My question is, what are they doing? What are they doing? Period.
Nothing.
It's
what do you mean? What are they doing?
What is the purpose of them being there? I don't see.
OTA?
I'm not going to get worked up about a June practice.
Thank you.
We talking about practice?
You know what? You guys have never coached a day in your life, apparently.
and ladies and gentlemen, in the group chat, it was sent to the group chat that apparently Ben Johnson, Chicago Bears head coach, is upset because Luther Burden is not at camp. Let the record show. He said not the same thing, but kind of same idea. Here's why I say it's not really the same thing. Not even same. He's a rookie. He's expected to be there. This is Laramie Tunsil. Luther Burden hasn't proven anything except for a cool suit he could wear on stage because he got his name called. Other than that, I'd be upset he wasn't there too. But Laramie Tunsil, come on.
I swear, Frankie Louvu could murder a dude out on the streets of DC, and Trev would be like, "Hey, at least he was at he played well on Sunday."
It's right.
Maybe not DC, but if he did that in Philadelphia, then that'd be a different question altogether.
Yeah. OTAs are incredibly important. Do you think they're just walking out there and they're all just kind of throwing the ball around?
Yes, that's exactly what Jayden Daniels is doing.
They are not.
They did 7-on-7 drills. They did some 11-11. They did.
Well, what are those drills? Do they just come up with something in their head and say, "Hey, you go," they're drawn in the
probably
sand,
a part of the playbook.
They've been in the meeting rooms for hours.
Sure.
They've been running reps of these things, doing walkthroughs. They've been all of this stuff. And then we got to go out there and get it out on the field. And we got to run these drills and we got to run these reps. We got to practice to get better. They're not just out there goofing around. The OTAs are massively important to the success of a football team. Sorry.
First of all, the practice is from 1 o'clock to 2:30. And then the last day, which is tomorrow, it's from 11:20 to 12. Okay.
Do you think that's all they're doing? Is they're walking into the building at 11 o'clock and walking out there and throwing the ball around a little bit and leaving?
If they're there
spending hours and hours in
meetings,
those film rooms.
If they're there for the individual department meetings, that's what I'm really worried about. But if they out there getting a vet day, not having to do a little for 20 minutes, cool, bro. That's cool. As long as you understand what it looks like from the mental reps in the meeting room, that's all I care about. I don't need Laramie Tunsil to come out here and show me what a stunt or a protection play is when he's been doing it for how many. Come on, Stoner.
Let me interject here and ask a question because
this might be the most
every week
ever.
This is where I'm stepping in. Dad's stepping in, gentlemen. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Separate yourselves. Get to your corners. All right. I have to say I'm with Trev on this. Trev, I'm with you. God. I'm with you. Hold on, Stoner, because it seems the threshold for us is different. I'm not getting mad at a guy who's missing one day, a vet day, second day in. This is not the threshold that's going to get me worked up. I don't know where Trev's threshold is. Obviously, Stoner, you missed 1 second of practice, and now I'm not a coach, but I'm gonna be mad. Okay, that's your threshold.
Mm-hmm.
I would say if we are 2 weeks from now and he has been resting or not participating for a third of the time that he's been available, I would be concerned. I would then be like, hey, not really happy with what's going on here. But that's not what's happening. This is day 2. This is a guy who we were all in love with the trade.
Mm-hmm.
Thought it was a fantastic trade. So I'm not taking myself off of that. I'm happy with this trade because of a vet day 2. Now, again, I said 2 weeks from now, 2 Wednesdays from now, if we're still seeing Laramie Tunsil not participating in drills, I think I'll be with you, Stoner. I'm going to be a little upset. So my threshold's a little bit more lenient than yours. Trev, when is it that you are going to get? Where's your threshold? Where is it? Mine's a couple weeks from now. If he's not playing a third, or if he's not been participating in a third of the days, I'm not happy with that. Where is it for you? Training camp. If once we get to training camp, if he's not participating in training camp, you're done. You're out on LT as the LT.
Yeah.
We already know Stoner doesn't like Laramie Tunsil, the person.
That's what it is.
Yeah. And for the record, I don't think this is going to essentially be a big deal when it comes to the bottom line, which is what? Wins and losses, right? I don't think it's going to affect the wins and losses that much. But I want winners.
Oh my God.
I want competitors. I want a guy who loves to be out there. That's just who I want on my team.
You want a team of Jayden Daniels who do nothing but football.
Yes.
Day in and day out. And
that's what I want. That doesn't mean my team is going to be more successful than the next team who doesn't have those guys.
So
right? I don't think Laramie Tunsil is not going to be successful because of this. But I just don't like it. That's all. I'm not saying he's going to be bad. I just don't like it. That's all I'm saying.
Well, let's shift to another guy who has missed now 2 days of mandatory minicamp and the last string of OTAs where we did tell you, don't worry, a deal's going to happen. Now, more and more reports coming out saying, hey, Terry McLaurin's not really happy that a deal's not moving. Some of that was Jordan Schultz. Some people don't really care for him.
Some of that was Jordan Schultz.
What's that?
Some of that was Jordan Schultz.
Albert Breer said it too.
All of that was Jordan Schultz.
Yeah, and so that is the question.
Y'all just listen to too much noise out there. Nobody, number one, nobody has said Terry is upset. Nobody has said that. The word that Jordan Schultz used was frustrated. Okay? That's not upset, but maybe that's being persnickety. But nobody also is claiming these reports or are claiming these quotes, right? You can't put a face to it.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean I don't believe it, because I believe that the information is, I don't believe that Jordan Schultz is lying and making things up. I believe somebody's feeding him that, and it's probably Terry's agent who's just trying to gain some leverage.
Albert Breer.
What did Albert Breer say?
106-7 even pointed the audio snippet.
What did he say? We're not going to be able to hear it, Trev. You're going to have to listen to it and repeat it.
He says, I don't think it's in a great place right now, but he finds it very difficult to.
Albert Breer said, I don't think he's in a great place right now.
He said, I don't think it's in a great place right now.
Yeah. He didn't say, I've been told, or right, because it's not, nobody said that.
It's probably said that, but not just from a super official person out of Terry's camp, maybe somebody affiliated with Terry's camp, but not actual source from Terry's camp. because I don't think Albert Breer and then would just say it just for clout. Right. I trust Jordan Schultz because he was like the first one to talk about the Marshall Lattimore trade, and that happened.
So now he can do no wrong. Now he's
no, I'm just saying I just follow him. But
yeah. So again, Nathan, I derailed you. I apologize. You were trying to get something out, but you said there's multiple reports that Terry's not happy. And when in fact, there's 0 reports that Terry's not happy. There are people saying that one,
he's frustrated, which I don't know.
Two,
I would not say frustrated. If you're going to be pedantic here a little bit, frustrated and happy are not synonyms. You got to put frustrated towards the unhappy crowd. Okay, I might have not used the right word, but let's not be so nitpicky that we're trying to say that.
Yeah.
Well, they never said he wasn't happy. Well, they said he was frustrated, which is not a happy thing. It's not a happy thing.
I believe he's frustrated.
I don't.
My question for you too, before this gets derailed from me getting my thought out here real quick, is how is this different from the last time Terry McLaurin was looking for a contract extension? Because if memory serves me right, last time Terry McLaurin, with a worse organization, still showed up to mandatory minicamp. He just did not participate in mandatory minicamp. Why is this time, with a much better front office than the last time that he was trying to get a deal, why is he now deciding to stay away from the team back-to-back weeks that he's decided that he's not going to be present for the team? Why is it different?
Can I give my opinion?
Yeah.
My opinion is actually that I'm not 100% sure that he's not there in the building. He could very well be in the building, because I do think back to the last time when this happened. We didn't know he was there until afterwards, when they said Terry was actually there during OTAs. He just didn't participate with on-field work. We didn't know that at the beginning. Nobody said during that time.
I'm pretty sure there were reports.
I don't think so.
From Time and the like, saying that McLaurin is here while he waits to get his deal done. I'm pretty sure there were.
He could be there, but most likely not, because we might have heard about it. But he has less leverage this time around. He has a lot less leverage because he's 29 years old. Even though he has shown no signs of slowing down at all. He's shown nothing in terms of not being able to produce what he's always produced. He's still 29 years old. And if you give him 3 years on top of the 1 year he still has left, 4 years, you're talking about a 33-year-old guy that you're going to be given $30 some odd million. And he just doesn't have that leverage that he used to have, where he can walk into the building and say, guys, I'm getting paid, so I'm going to be here. Now he's like, maybe I'm not going to get what I want, so I'm just going to completely separate. That's my opinion. Of course, I don't know, and I haven't heard. Although I have heard that he's not necessarily frustrated. I have heard from a source that he understands what's going on, and he's just doing what he needs to do to get a contract. That's all. Last time he signed June 28th, I believe, or he agreed on June 28th and signed on like July 6th or something like that, right before training camp started. But he just doesn't have the leverage. He's still getting $30 million a year. Sorry. I mean, that's what he's going to get.
Trav, what's your theory?
Wow, that's a good theory, Stoner. I what you said about paying a 33-year-old wide receiver $30 million a year 4 years from now, I don't know, man. I don't know if that's what we really want to do. When's Jayden Daniels' contract up?
He's got he's
You
got
think of the
essentially
5th year
got 4 more
option.
years.
You're talking 4
So
more
right
years.
when that contract would end for Terry,
Yeah.
or whatever, James would. I don't know, man. I love Terry and all. I know you guys got some stats we're going to rattle off here that kind of backs up the reason why he should get paid, but the market's a little higher. The season has changed. We're in win now mode, and we're trying to build for the future as well. And I don't really know if they want to invest in Terry for that long. I know it was said in March by AP himself, we want to make Terry the commander a long time. What's he supposed to say when he's asked that question in front of the nation, in front of cameras like that too? Not necessarily saying it's a lie, but what is he supposed to say? Let's think about that. They just re-signed Jeremy Reeves to 1 year. I know it's not breaking the bank, but I don't know, man. I feel like that could have waited a little bit. I don't know. I just don't know. I really don't know what they think. I think they like Terry a lot, and they probably do want to make him a commander for a long time, but they also realize they've got some younger talent they're going to have to pay here soon, and maybe Terry thinks he deserves a little bit more than what the Commanders are willing to give. I mean, if they're still out here spending money, then how are you going to have enough money to give Terry what he wants? I know, like I said, it's just 1 year, but you're still spending money that's not on Terry. So I don't know. It just feels different. It just feels like they're saying the right things. And here on this podcast, we've always said, don't listen to what they say, watch what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not doing anything supposedly right now. So I don't know, man. I just don't know.
They've got some really, really, really smart people in that football operation, right?
Which
this is not the old days, Trev, where they're like trying to look at, okay, what is Terry worth? 3 years, $92 million or whatever. That's not how they're doing it.
Right.
They've got this 5-year, they've got this 3-year, this 5-year, this 7-year plan, and they look at what they're going to pay wide receiver 1, regardless of who the name is.
Right.
Wide receiver 1, we can afford to pay this guy this much over the course of this time, knowing Jayden Daniels is coming up. And they do that for every single position. It's why they let Dante Fowler go for a mere $10 million a year.
Yeah.
It's why they let Jeremy Chin go for a mere $10 million and De'Ami Brown and all that, because that slot says this is how much we're going to pay over the course of these years, and they've got these formulas and all that, right? They're not just winging it and saying we're going to give Terry McLaurin $30 million a year, done.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
They're not doing that.
These really smart people might come up with decisions that the fans won't be a fan of. But like you said, for the long run, it's a smart move that needs to happen right now in order for this future thing that they have going on to happen. So it's a double-edged sword having a really good front office, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's not like he's not going to
try
or he's not going to get his money, because he is going to get his money. It's just they've got to figure out the proper void years. They've got to figure out the proper guaranteed money.
Incentives
and
figure
all that out that works for the Commanders and their long-term plan that they have built out. And it's not just, like I said, in the past, you've just had people say, we're going to give Terry McLaurin this much money because he's worth it, and that's the plan going forward, and we'll figure out the rest later. This iteration of the Commanders front office doesn't work that way. They've got formulas and analytics and all this other stuff, and they're not just going to willy-nilly this contract. They're going to get it just right. And at some point, Terry is going to say, perfect. And he's going to walk into camp. He's going to walk into camp. He's going to have a big smile on his face, and he's going to say, I wasn't offended. I wasn't frustrated.
Look,
this is part of the process.
We can't. That sounds great, and we can probably say that because he's been a pro since day one. But at some point, you got to feed your family. And if he's not getting what he thinks he deserves, somebody said, is he a diva? It might come out. Maybe he's a pro diva. Maybe he's not the lashing out diva. I'm going to go to the media. Maybe he's a diva in his own way by just being a silent killer. Maybe he is frustrated. We don't know that, but we do want to say, oh, yeah, it's perfect. He'll stop. No, that's because he's been a pro's pro. But like somebody said, it's his last big year of the last final year of his big contract opportunity or whatever. Man, I just wouldn't be so sure that Terry and the Commanders are going to just end up getting this done. It just feels different this year.
If Terry McLaurin doesn't show up to day one of training camp with a new contract as a Washington Commander, I will, live on our show, shave my head and my eyebrows. Because
just do your head, but not the eyebrows.
No, because that's how sure I am. That's how sure I am, is that it's
Were you
not
this
gonna
sure
happen.
last time you did this?
Was I what?
Were you this sure the last time he held out?
No, I wasn't as sure then. I felt good about it, but you know, we didn't know what we were dealing with at that time. Right? When you had the people in charge at that time.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I did go back and I looked because I didn't want to misspeak. And I did find out he was skipping the voluntary workouts and didn't start out attending mandatory minicamp. So it wasn't until later that he did end up showing up to camp. But that might have been after he agreed to the terms of the deal and waiting to sign the contract as well. So I'm not going to continue digging into that. But I did misspeak earlier. You were correct, Stoner. You can put that feather in your cap as far as whether or not he held out.
I got so many feathers in my cap, so
I know we got to get that back patter thing for you for your 75th birthday. That aside, Terry McLaurin, aging wide receiver. Trev has been on this channel for years saying that he doesn't think that Terry McLaurin is a wide receiver one. So the question comes down to is what should they be willing to pay him? Because the top wide receivers are getting pretty much all north of $30 million. Waddle and Higgins are the only two under the top 10 that aren't being paid that. And both of them being paid more than $28 million.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is where should he get paid? And as Roger points out here, you should hit that like button and be a fan. You should make sure that you stay here and let your voice heard on our Wednesday live show. I'm going to read some stats, as Trev has alluded to. Kind of did some digging when it came to the Terry McLaurin thing as we try to settle out his contract, because a lot of people are in the pay Terry McLaurin. He means too much. We even had comments earlier saying that if Terry McLaurin doesn't play for Washington this year, they're going to be bad. That's how important he is to the team, is the argument from some of our viewers. So I wanted to look, because then there's the people who don't want to pay a 30-year-old wide receiver $30 million, that they don't think Terry McLaurin is elite. So you know me, I'm a stats-driven guy. I want to know, do the stats back him being worth the money? And these are the things I found out. Okay. Since he's been in the league, he is 9th in receiving yards. He's played this out of wide receivers. He has played the second most games, 97 games. We talked earlier about availability is the best ability. This man shows up week in and week out, and he plays the game of football. He's got 460 receptions. That's good enough for 12th since he's began. That was on 726 targets, which is the 9th highest targets there, and an average of 13.9 yards per catch. That's 8th best. Okay. Those are some raw statistics.
Right.
Top 10 almost across the board for what he's done since becoming in the league. And it's kind of funny to me because we don't talk about him as a top 10 wide receiver, despite that the stats kind of say that, hey, this guy is probably a top 10 and certainly no less than top 15. And as the market gets reset, those top 15 guys, those guys who are 10 to 15, they get paid like a top 10 guy. because the people in the top 10 are going to start passing them in numbers. Now, the next thing I went ahead and looked at was the aspect of he's that important to the team. And people aren't wrong there. In 2019, he accounted for 33% of the passing yardage for the team. Then 32, then 31, then 34, 27 with Eric Bieniemy calling plays, and 30 this last year with Jayden Daniels elite play, a Cliff Kingsbury offense that's known to kind of put it around. Since I looked at where he ranked at, since starting the league, I went ahead and I looked at, and I'll eventually get a chart together to kind of plot this out, but I wasn't able to get it in today. But I did get the numbers to compare him. By the way, there were some really good wide receivers who've come out the last 4 or 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, some really good ones. And it's insane to me to look at these numbers and realize that, I mean, you got Brandon Ayuk who just signed for a pretty big deal. And his percentage of the passing yardage, 19, 20, 26, 31. 31% was his highest. He had 9 last year. Why did he have 9%? Because he was injured.
Right.
Wasn't available. Okay. Who's another name? AJ Brown. Pretty good wide receiver.
Top 5.
Yeah.
Wide receiver.
29, 25% while he was at Tennessee. Gets traded to Philadelphia, 36, 38, 34%.
So he's right in that same range.
Right there with Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
Right. And the percentages that you're going to see. AJ Brown gets paid $32 million a year.
Right.
Yeah. Your boy Metcalf, $33 million. Drafted the same year as Terry McLaurin. 29, 33, 28, 27, 28, 25. Traded to another season, to another team.
Almost all of those below.
The one one that's in there is was
29.
The 29, the 33. His first year he actually had less than Terry McLaurin. So it would have been his year that he had 33. So his second year he had 1% more than Terry McLaurin. The rest of those were all underneath. Well, the lost year with EB. Terry McLaurin is in fact worth the $30 million is what this looks like.
Yeah. Based on those stats, I agree. And a couple to add into that. And you mentioned already, but his availability. He's missed 3 games his entire career for injuries. That's it. When you talked about Ayuk and his importance to the team, Ayuk missed 3 games last month for the 49ers, and Terry's missed 3 in 7 seasons. The only guy in team history to have 1,000 receiving yards for 4 consecutive years. Team record for touchdown catches in a season. Walter Payton, man of the year for the Commanders. Team captain his second year in the league. He's valuable in so many ways, but what Nathan just talked about in terms of his value to the offense and what he provides to the offense is something maybe we just take for granted because of all the guys that he had played with before Jayden Daniels. And I got the list here of the quarterbacks, and while the quarterbacks shouldn't play into whether or not he gets paid, the quarterbacks play into whether or not he's valuable to a team because he was doing it regardless of who the quarterback is. So he's going to continue to do it regardless of who the quarterback is. Case Keenum, Dwayne Haskins, Colt McCoy, Alex Smith, Kyle Allen, Taylor Heineke, Garrett Gilbert, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Carson Wentz, Sam Howell, Jacoby Brissett, Jayden Daniels, Marcus Mariota. That's who Terry McLaurin has played with in his 7 years. And still, regardless of who the coach is, he's had Jay Gruden, he's had Ron Rivera, and now he's got Dan Quinn. he's still a massive chunk of the offense. All years, at least, or average 35% of the offense, of the receiving yards for the team.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going to have to pay him, although he is 29 years old, and they are going to pay him. They're going to come to terms, and it's going to be north of $30 million a year in AAV. It just is. He's going to get $60 to $70 million guaranteed. It's going to happen.
One of the things, and talking about the importance, was even Cliff Kingsbury in the team last year talked about how when we were frustrated, remember, I think it was week 2, Terry McLaurin didn't really see a catch in the first half. And the offense was kind of sluggish because of that. And Cliff Kingsbury came out early on and throughout the season continued to talk about how important Terry McLaurin is to this offense and getting it going. And as I think franchise talk here said, for years, teams knew we were going to Terry and they can't stop it. We need to get him signed, is what franchise talk says. Now, the question is kind of like you said, Stoner, and Panthro here is alluding to, is the money. And it might not be over money, as Panthro is saying. I don't think the dispute is over money. Probably more about how long it's for. You mentioned Terry McLaurin's 29 years old. Adam Peters has proven he doesn't like long-term deals. Mm-hmm. Even the likes of Frankie Louvu, only 3 years. Sam Cosmi, 3 years. What are the percentages, Panthro is asking, on a 1-year prove-it deals? There's been plenty that Adam Peters has put out there. Jeremy Chin as a 1-year prove-it deal. Noah Brown, as you mentioned, was a 1-year prove-it deal. He got re-signed. Adam Peters is trying to build this roster, and he's trying to balance drafting talent. Only 5 picks this year to start this year, right? So it's going to take a while. We mentioned Howie Roseman, 10 years to kind of develop the roster that we're seeing with the Philadelphia Eagles that most will say is the best roster in football. And he's having to do it with balancing getting players who are not quite past their prime, but on a deal that's worth it to the team. So where does he fit in? Where does that make Terry McLaurin fit in if he's not going to get an extension for 5 years?
Well, he's definitely not going to get an extension.
Adam Peters isn't going to give him 5 years. He hasn't
given anybody, not even 4 years.
Yeah, lucky to get 3, with the last one being voided.
That's right. That's where it's going to end up, but it's going to be 3 years on top of the 1 year he already has left on his contract, right? Or they just tear that up and just do a 3-year deal, a brand new 3-year deal, right? We don't know the terms of the deal. We don't, we don't have any insight. We don't have any insiders telling us this is what they're disputing. But it's got to be fair to Terry, and it's got to be fair to the team more than anything. And it's going to come out in the end that everybody's just going to say, look, it's just business. We just had to get to the right numbers, and both sides are going to be happy.
I got this weird gut feeling that this is going to be the first heartbreak that the new regime is going to give us, and they're not going to be able to come to terms with Terry McLaurin. Me personally, I'm not giving him more than $30 million a year. Not 31, not 32. I'm not doing it. He was great to us because we had no one else. Let's be honest. Some of these other wide receivers have at least 5 times better number 2s.
Some of these are number 2 wide receivers on this list, by the way.
Right. Yeah. There we go.
Higgins and Waddle at the bottom at 10 and 9 are
give me them
wide receiver 2
right now. Yeah, I'll take them over Terry McLaurin right now, both of them. But I just don't.
So let me ask you this, Trip. Why
I feel like
do you care?
We can win without Terry McLaurin.
Why do you care if he gets $32 million a year?
Yeah.
Why do you care?
Because I'm not trying to overpay for a player. I'm not trying to do it. I don't want to be in the same conversation as they overpay for DK. They overpay for. I don't want to be in that conversation. What do I care?
Why do you care?
Because there's other places that could use the money rather than just a bottom half of the top 10 to 15 wide receiver.
The stats bear out that he, during his time in the NFL, has top 10 numbers. The
Awesome.
stats bear that out. Okay, we're not even being subjective.
No, we're
with
not.
that is objective.
But
I do think that adds to what Locked on Law here says, and I wanted to shoot this over to you, Trev, and I think this works in tandem with what you're kind of going at here, because I know you don't see Terry McLaurin as a stud wide receiver. He's a good wide receiver.
mm-hmm.
And statistically might be top 10, but in your mind, when you're taking wide receivers, you're not putting Terry McLaurin in the top 10. And Locked on Law here says, okay, but Neighbors is better than Terry, and he's on a rookie contract. So if Terry wants to sit out, they can find another wide receiver. And you even went and said that there are other wide receivers that you can get in regards to Noah Brown. My question for you, Trev, is why isn't Terry McLaurin seen as elite? Why is it that even though he's over the likes of CeeDee Lamb since he's been in the league, over the likes of DK Metcalf. Now, Lamb, he does have a season on, so I guess you can give Lamb a little bit of a break there. But DK Metcalf, who a lot of people, who includes Stoner, absolutely love, and he's got less yards. Keenan Allen has less yards. Chris Godwin has less yards. Why is it that Terry McLaurin can't get his flowers? Why is he not seen as a stud wide receiver?
Because he's been playing on a horrible, horrible team where he literally is the only option. Now we have more options. We have a tight end again. We have an emerging wide receiver group. We have a stud quarterback. Before that, he didn't have none of that. So, of course, he's going to have to put up these stats. We couldn't run the ball. We had to do something. You weren't going to throw it to Adam Humphries, Cam Sims. You weren't going to do that. You're going to throw it to who? Terry. Yeah, and people might get on there and say, yeah, Terry's route running is crazy. But, bro, don't nobody in the league talk about Terry like they talk about these elite wide receivers when they use the word elite. Terry's name is not mentioned in the conversation when the word elite receivers come out. The stats are top 10, great, but he's not elite. He had no choice but to be those top 10 stats because he was the only option that we had. Think about it, guys. We didn't have a quarterback. We didn't have a running back. We didn't have a number 2 wide receiver. All we had was Chase Young and Montez Sweat and Terry McLaurin. And those 2 out of those 3 played defense. I'm sorry. Other teams have more than what we had. You had a Joe Burrow throwing to Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. You had a Kirk Cousins and whoever else throwing to Justin Jefferson. You had Aaron Rodgers or whoever else throwing to Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. You had better quarterbacks than we did throwing to these players. We had crap thrown to Terry McLaurin, which got him those stats. You put him on the Vikings receiving core right now, he's wide receiver 2. You put him in Cincinnati, he might be wide receiver 3. You put him at the Jets, he might battle for wide receiver 1 with Garrett Wilson, maybe not. At the Saints, he might battle just because Olave's been hurt. The Chargers, maybe McConkey's on the rise right now. Like, you put him anywhere else, the word elite is not to Terry McLaurin. You put him in Washington next to Cam Sims, Adam Humphries. I can't even think about De'Ami Brown, Jahan Dotson, Jameson Crowder. Yeah, he's going to look like he's elite. When you got Sam Howell and Garrett Gilbert and Taylor Heineke throwing Hail Mary bombs to him and he's catching on his body, he's going to look elite. But you put him anywhere else in the league with these other receivers, he's number 2. And I'm sorry, that's just what it is. So that's why I think he deserves $30 million, not nothing before that. Because, yeah, DK might have got overpaid, but he's a freak athlete. Pittsburgh's desperate. They don't have anybody. They just got rid of Pickens. So, of course,
desperation probably plays a little bit.
Yeah, and overpaying. So that's cool. But right now, Adam Peters and them are thinking, hold on. We're in win now, but we're not desperate. I think legit that they think that they have a chance of winning at least 10 games without Terry McLaurin. I think they could do that too. I'm sorry. I love Terry McLaurin. He's a pros. Never been a diva. Has never complained. He's done his part. But he's not elite. He's just not elite, bro. I'm sorry.
Well, Jersey Slim is with you saying facts and preach, Trev. KZH was with you and is now backing off.
He
Never
bailed
mind.
quick.
Bad answer. Bad answer. Bad
I mean,
answer.
I love the
quick,
fact,
man.
and I love the fact that he gives 1,000 yards each year with all these crap quarterbacks. That's cool. There was no other option.
But look
I'm
what
not
he
a big
did last year.
stats guy.
Yeah,
either.
that's because he had who was throwing him the ball last year.
Right. You just gonna get rid of that? You're just gonna throw that out?
You give me them 13 touchdowns when Taylor Heineke's throwing him the ball, when Kyle Allen's throwing him the ball.
To be fair, the offense itself was all around pitiful.
That's
He
what I'm
was the lone
saying.
bright
We
spot.
weren't winning games. We were winning 4 games, and Terry's put up 1,000 yards. Cool, you got 1,000 yards, but you know what they remember? We won 4 games. No one knows about the Terry stats until we look them up because they're so forgettable because we lost games. The other receivers are still good because they made plays. They're like electric. They're like crazy, freakishly good.
Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave.
Well, yeah, those are the ones. To Trev's point, one of Terry McLaurin's best catches this year came in a loss. It was an 80+ yard reception in Dallas.
I'll never get that argument.
So like,
I don't think the losing thing is a true argument starter. But to that point, Terry McLaurin this year, and because Gus Bus, thanks for joining us tonight, says Terry outcompetes opposition. He doesn't have an elite trait, although we finally saw some breakaway speed in the long touchdown runs after the catch last year. And that's why I was pointing out one of those things that we saw against Dallas. We all thought we were winning that football game when Terry McLaurin takes that catch 80 yards to the house. We all were like, this is going to happen. Oh, yeah. And then it was botch after botch after botch after that, not on Terry McLaurin. So one of his best catches ends up being forgettable. How about the fact against Detroit was another one where he showed off elite traits there, takes a screen, gets by 2 guys and outruns Kirby Joseph, who people were throwing out praise before that game as a guy who was one of the best defensive players in the league. And he just absolutely smokes him.
There's a certain point also in all of this. First of all, his play on the field is something that you can't deny his importance to the play on the field. Whether or not he's a top 10 or top 12, whatever receiver is, to me, is not that important. His play on the field and is important to this team success and his importance to this organization has measurements that we can't even define at this point, right? Remember all of the videos and the photos of Terry last year and how much fun he was having, and we all just praised him because it was finally, after everything that he's done for this organization, now he's finally reaping the rewards of winning, and he's still putting up the numbers and even better numbers. You can't just get rid of a guy like that. You can't just knock him off your team and expect to be the same team. I think that's crazy. Earlier I said this was one of the craziest things Trevor ever said when you guys don't care about OTAs and think they're a joke. This is crazier to think that this team can win 12 games without Terry McLaurin.
They could win 10 without him.
They can't.
They could win 10 without him.
They're not winning 10 games with him. Sorry. That's a video for another day that I'm still working on that I will get out.
They're not winning 10
They're not winning 10 games with him, Trev. Sorry, but he is incredibly important to this team and this organization, and that's why he will get signed. They're not trading him. They're not
going to trade him.
They're not going to just let him sit on the on a last year deal, on a dummy deal or whatever. It's not happening. They're going to sign him. And
if you don't like the deal, he's
year.
not signing it.
He's going to like the deal when they say, here's $70 million. He's going to at some point. Maybe he's holding out for years. Maybe he's holding out for guaranteed money. But when it comes right down to it, just like last time, right before training camp, they're going to get to a number, and he's going to say, and his agent, really, because I promise you this, If he didn't have an agent, he'd have been signed months ago. But his agent has to do right by the NFL and the Players Association.
And they're probably only a few. They're probably just maybe $1 million off and a year issue. Like they're probably closer than we expect. I am interested to see where he's going to go because DK Metcalf, like we said, they're very similar stats. The areas that I can see DK Metcalf has a leg up on Terry McLaurin are twofold. One is the average yard catch. Now, I'm not a big when it comes to stats, I hate bulk stats. So we mentioned the receiving yards. Terry McLaurin's 9th. I know Jersey's out here trying to this is not true, Jersey. I just want to let you know. Terry's not 16th in receiving yards in the last 7 years. Since he joined the league, he is 9th. I have the list right in front of me. Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, Stephon Diggs, Travis Kelce, DJ Moore, Mike Evans, Terry McLaurin. Okay. Rounding out your top 10, by the way, Cooper Kupp, CeeDee Lamb, just missing there. But here's the thing. Some of these guys haven't been in the league, right? Justin Jefferson, the fact that he's number 3 on this list and he's only been in the league since 2020, that's pretty flippin' insane. Okay. Like that means
elite.
But Justin Jefferson is elite. And I'll tell you why he's elite. Justin Jefferson averages 15 yards per catch.
That's crazy.
He averages 96.5 yards a game. Okay. That's why he's elite. Now,
and by the way, using Trev's logic, how much is that helping Minnesota?
A lot.
Haven't even sniffed an NFC championship game, and Terry has been there.
Look,
Terry's been to more championship games than Justin Jefferson has. That's the truth. So they shouldn't be giving Justin Jefferson $40 million a year.
Yes, they should.
Okay. Well, now you're changing your parameters here. You're moving the goalposts.
Did you hear what Nathan just said?
Justin Jefferson is probably my favorite wide receiver in the game right now. The guy is
Terry 7 just to be in the conversation with him.
But he's not leading them to the wins. He's not leading them to the conference.
He's also not going to get Justin Jefferson money. I was going to compare him to DK Metcalf because they've been in the league, and I would say, in my opinion. And I realize I'm wearing burgundy and gold glasses here, but I would take Terry McLaurin over DK Metcalf. There are 2 areas DK Metcalf has outperformed Terry McLaurin in the time they've been in the league together. Average yards per catch is 1. He's got 14.4 per catch compared to Terry McLaurin's still top 8, 13.9. Okay. And the receiving touchdowns, he's got 10 more receiving touchdowns than Terry McLaurin. And when you're talking about the fact that they've only been in the league since 2019, or that's essentially a touchdown a year. Okay. More than Terry McLaurin. Those are the only 2 though. I think he's going to be probably somewhere between St. Brown and Metcalf in money. Somewhere between 30 and 33 is where I think he's going to go. Part of DK Metcalf and St. Brown's contract extensions, both of those guys are younger than Terry McLaurin. So age is going to play a factor. You're not wanting to pay what will be a 34-year-old wide receiver $35 million. You're not going to want to.
And they're not going to. They're not going to do that.
All that money because production's climbing.
They're going to give him. They're going to give him 3 years, $95 million, where 68 of it is guaranteed. Probably $28 million signing bonus. Yeah, that's perfect.
And then
Mike nails it.
And sit there and watch.
Year's is voidable,
and he'll sit there and watch Debo get majority of the targets this season.
How's Debo going to get a majority of the targets when he's sitting at the friendlies eating a sundae?
Not the friendlies.
Come on.
All right. Well, moving along from Terry McLaurin, though, this is a great discussion. Appreciate everybody chiming in here. Mike H also points out Jeremy Reeves got extended 1 year. Congrats, Jeremy Reeves. I'm not even going to try the applause button because it never works for me.
Real
right now.
quick on Jeremy Reeves, to the point where he's got this extension. So he signed for the next 2 years, and it's an extension onto his this year. So it's basically like a 2-year deal. Let's not forget that in 2018 he was signed here after getting cut from the Eagles, and the Eagles signed him as an undrafted free agent. He was signed here in 2018, went to the practice squad, and then was cut, and then signed back to the practice squad and played like 9 games. The next year, cut, signed to the practice squad, got in for like 9 games. The next year, cut, signed to the practice squad, ended up playing. The next year, cut, signed to the practice squad. Then finally he makes the roster and is first team All-Pro on special teams. Then the next year, tears his ACL just a few games into the season. And now he's back for 2 more years after this. That's a guy you want on your team. And these guys wanted to cut his ass in training camp.
Yeah, ready to go right now.
Y'all wanted to cut him.
Want is a strong word, Stoner.
Okay,
predicted. I predicted.
Right now.
And I think it was like a
now.
bold prediction too. I don't even think it was like he's getting cut. You were just trying to come up with something bold. But
I mean, statistically, he's gotten cut more years than he made the 53. Yeah. So I mean, money was on that one. I think what it comes down to, and what I think is interesting here is it's kind of funny you mentioned the years he's an undrafted free agent. He's getting cut from the roster, practice squad guy. We always fall in love. And we here in Ref the District, we call him a district diamond, right? Fans always fall in love with some back into the roster guy. Jeremy Reeves is never. And to be fair, it's hard to be a district diamond as a defensive guy because you need to, intercept a pass, make a big hit type deal. But Jeremy Reeves was never really somebody's district diamond, but he just kept sticking around and ends up making the roster, ends up having a stellar year as a special teamer. Okay. Yes, the injury and everything, but even before the injury last year, there was another guy who is a district diamond, who's a name who keeps getting mentioned over and over again last year as a guy who's going to be a sneaky pick for the roster. That's kind of the reason why I made a bold prediction about Jeremy Reeves kind of falling off. And this year, I'm hearing that name again and again and again as a guy who's going to make the roster, but honestly has to sneak in through special teams, and I just don't see it happening. And that's Tyler Owens. So this extension for Jeremy Reeves, I now wonder, where does Tyler Owens fit in? Because Percy Butler's getting praise from the coaches as somebody who is kind of impressing. Now, it's coach talk, it's early and whatnot. Who knows? They could just be trying to challenge him. They admitted to doing that to Quan Martin last year. Quan Martin early on was making mistakes, so they made him play with the seconds, right? So maybe there's a guy who they actually really like that they're just trying to give a little bit of tough love to see how they'll respond and bounce back. But where I think that's probably the most interesting thing, because Reeves is deserving. Revo has been fantastic for the team as just like this fifth safety, good specials teamer. Joe Witt Jr. is now talking about how to get him some snaps on defense. But the Tyler Owens thing is now where I'm like, okay, what does this safety room look like? Trev, you're not a big Quan Martin guy. You got Will Harris, who you're just also kind of on.
Yeah. Jeremy Chin 2.0.
Yeah. Percy Butler, I know you don't like.
You got to go.
Jeremy Reeves.
Where's Tyler Owens going to fit?
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Hampton in that one, or is he a linebacker? Like I just don't know where.
Anywhere.
Gabe Taylor was another people loved. Gabe Taylor.
Dominique Hampton. I don't know if he's more of a linebacker, but
that's what I said. I said Hampton was just like, I'm not sure if he does fit in that linebacker room or safety room.
Yeah. Reeves ain't seeing no. I don't know why Joe Witt getting on there putting his foot in his mouth by saying, I need to find a role for him. No, you don't. You just need to do what you want to keep doing what you're doing. Praise him, keep moving. He can fit anywhere he wants to. Percy Butler's doing great with no pads on and group install and jogging through drills. It looks great, but Ain't nobody game planning for Percy Butler. Tyler Owens can come in there as long as he's healthy because he had that bum ankle last year too. He had the chance to come in there and play alongside Quan or play alongside Percy or, come play a few plays here and there, but I ain't worried about it. Signing Revo does not put me in any worry about the safety. We just got our special teams ace for another 2 years. That's where he's going to play.
They have 2 special teams aces now, which is interesting because they also got Nick Ballore.
Yeah. So that's fine. Tyler Owens. And if he doesn't fit, he doesn't fit.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about Tyler Owens. He's like, again, safety 4 or 5.
Right.
Actually now 6
I think
or 7.
we should go out and get a vet safety out there and bring him into that room. But
he did, Will Harris.
Who was your who was that one offensive lineman that was your district diamond a couple seasons back?
Oh God, what was his name?
Dude.
Mason.
Mason Thompson. Is that right?
Or was
For
Mason
us?
his last name? He was the North Dakota kid. Big dude, not in the league or not on this roster
Stronger?
anymore.
No, it was Mason something.
Mason.
Mason Brooks. Mason Brooks.
Mason Brooks.
Mason, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, where's that dude? I mean, some of our district diamonds are a
They're
lot
bad.
of fun.
They're bad. They're district diamonds for a reason.
JFP.
Out the league.
Jarrett frickin'
OTL.
Patterson.
Yeah.
Out the league.
Yeah.
You know who?
Yeah.
I don't want to derail. If
Kaz Allen
doing
was another one who's.
Are we doing OTA or minicamp stories?
Yep, minicamp stories is what we're on right now.
Okay, so interestingly, there have been a lot of names that the coaches have been throwing out there, and I love when they do that because nobody asked them specifically. They say, who have you liked or who has stood out, and they'll say, McCaffrey has stood out, or like you said, Joe Witt Jr. said I got to get Reeves more snaps, and there are certain guys that get that, but you know who hasn't? I haven't heard his name once. Not once in any of the OTAs or minicamp.
Hold on.
Not one time.
John Bates.
Have you heard? Was that
Bates?
No, not Bates.
Can you tell us offense or defense? Oh,
Johnny Newton.
Oh, the
Have
team
you heard
tweeted
his name once.
The team tweeted a picture of him in the line saying Johnny Newton's ready to go. That's about it. You know why? You want to know why? Because he's involved in a trade rumor package to get trade Hendrickson. That's why they're not saying anything about him.
Is that why?
That's exactly why. They're not going to say anything about somebody who's not going to be here by the time training camp gets rolling around.
Okay.
That's my hot take of the evening.
Yeah,
okay.
that's golden hot. That's golden hot. Yeah. No, not hearing about Johnny Newton. I'm not concerned about it. I'm interested. Maybe that's the guy who they're going to treat like Quan Martin. They're going to put him on the back end. There has been a lot more focus on Deron Payne, who has apparently been playing very well. Kinlaw is the guy who got signed, who has been showing up and doing a lot of things. I do think the defensive line is going to be very interesting how they're going to make it up. And that's going to be a conversation when we get to the defensive linemen as far as our NFC East rankings. But I actually looked this up today for our buddies over there at District Divided. Shout out to them. The elephant end is what it's called when you put a big defensive tackle guy out on the edge. 245 times they put Deron Payne out there on the edge. There's been a lot of Kinlaw discussion around the fact that he can play on the edge as well. Now, part of that is to stop the run. In fact, for Deron Payne, that was the main reason why they would put him out there, is because they had great success when he was on the edge as a left end to be able to stop the run. That was out of 796 snaps, by the way. So not an insignificant number of times where they had him out as a run stopper. But the So I'm interested in how it's going to work because Deron Payne can be put on the outside. Kinlaw can be put on the outside. And if that funnels things into Johnny Newton, who you're leaving, and who's the other name that they signed? It was
Wise, Eddie Goldman.
Yeah, there's a couple. The
Jacob Martin.
Who's the guy last year? Davis Day starts with a D.
Sheldon
Day.
I'm interested to see where those guys are gonna line up and how it's gonna work out. But yeah, Johnny Newton, I'm a big fan. I think we'll hear more about him when we get there.
Sorry, go ahead.
There's eyewitness reports from Ben Standing on what happened for Noah Brown. So if I appear disinterested, because I'm listening to that, I'm going to give you guys.
Yes.
Carl Davis. That was the name. I was looking for. Thanks, Locked On Law. I was like,
Jalen
I knew it was a D.
Jalen Holmes is there. Jean-Baptiste.
So, what other stories you got for us, Stoner?
From training camp, good stories. Some of the positive things that have been coming out is Trey Amos has looked the part as a CB1. Marshawn Lattimore, as you talked about, an hour and a half ago, that he seems to be fully healthy, and he has looked good so far in camp, and he is his attitude is very positive about this year. And he even mentioned that, look, he just wasn't 100% last year. So hopefully we get a lot out of Lattimore this year. And then on the offensive side of the ball, right, we've heard some good things about Ben Sinnott, that he has impressed a little bit, and really hearing some things about 7th round pick Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, and that he has really been impressive to the coaches, and which is a great thing. But I think the most important thing is, and you know how I like to read between the lines of what the beat reporters are saying, what the coaches are saying, but the drop-off, at least so far, and it hasn't been that much, but the drop-off for Jayden Daniels, there is none. He has looked incredibly sharp, as you would expect and you would hope, right? You never know with these things. We all think he's the real deal, but you just never know. There have been plenty of flash in the pan, guys. But he has absolutely looked the part all through training camp, and which is good to hear, and expect a lot out of him.
The question here, from Luis was if Trey Amos signed, and he is signed, as JG has pointed out there. So just before I can get to the answer for Luis, JG answered for us. Good stuff. Yeah, Stoner, a lot of good information out there on the news. I was just for the minicamp, I'm listening to some of the bad news that's happening. We mentioned the Noah Brown injury, and Ben Standing from The Athletic happened to be there and was talking with 106.7 The Fan, which is the clip I just listened to kind of relay it. We can't play it here because then we'll get copyrighted, and then we get put in YouTube jail for a while. It's not fun for us. So just going to relay the information that he said. It was on a pass over the middle, looked fairly routine. He did go to the ground for it, but then he stayed on the ground. Starts to walk off on his own power. I mean, he stayed down on the ground for a while. That's where the concern was. Walked off on his own power, then gets into the cart to go up to the locker rooms there in Ashburn. Apparently, Ben says that as he was on the cart, the cart went over a bump or something, and Noah exclaimed. There's no telling whether or not he was exclaiming because he was further injured during that, or he's aggravated his injury during that, or if he was just mad about being injured. But it just so happened to be while he was on the cart that he was that he also let out kind of a shout in there. And remember, his injury wasn't a normal injury. It was a kidney injury, if you remember last year, that he was having problems with. So got to wonder what's going on with Noah Brown. As we have more information, that we'll be sure to pass that along. But I just wanted to let you all know about that one that I happened to catch as I was looking through some of my notes here on the minicamp. Stoner, your favorite person your second favorite person. I guess Laramie Tunsil's your favorite person, but your second favorite person, he didn't earn himself a vet day. Marshawn Lattimore was out there, healthy.
Yep.
Removing timid steps from his game. What
Yep.
did you make of Lattimore out in Commanders camp?
Oh, well, I'll let Trev speak on that since because I just spoke about it for like 2 minutes earlier.
Oh, yeah.
My goodness.
He's
I told you I was listening to the thing. I apologize. I didn't want to do that, but
cool.
I needed to hear what was said about Noah Brown, so I had to tune you guys out. So my bad.
Good.
Lattimore
he says he feels like he got his burst back. He said he was injured last year and he was trying to play through it, which kind of caused his struggles in the games or whatever throughout the season. But he's glad he got a full off season to work out with the guys and get his body fully healthy. And he feels like he's back to himself again, which is very, very good. Then the report came out before Noah Brown went down. I think Noah Brown hit a sweet inside move down the sideline, got open. Jayden threw him the ball. He burnt Lattimore. Lattimore recovered and made a play on the ball and the pass was incomplete. So that's the kind of stuff you want to hear during these times for people like him who missed some time for injury. So
yeah, there's a lot of, again, I'm elite at reading between the lines of what people are saying, so I can kind of ferret out what's just hyperbole, what's just talk or whatever. But when I read things like that means something to me because they don't have to say certain things like that. Like I love Zach Selby, right? Zach Selby is paid by the team.
Yeah.
So I tend to tune out a lot of what he says because he'll never say anything negative.
No, he can't
have glowing reports. But I listen to these others, they can't be super negative because then they'll lose their ability to be there at the field. So I listen to what they say, and there are certain ways that they say it. And when they say the things like Trev just talked about, what they said about Lattimore and getting beat and then recovering, that means something.
Yeah.
Because it's important that that's what Lattimore is known for.
Yes.
Right? His ability to recover when he gets beat. Because last year, what was he doing? He was too handsy because he couldn't recover.
Yes.
Because of his injury.
And now he's
right.
back.
So now he's been able to do things like that. So they're important. It's early. We shouldn't get too over excited about some of these things, but those are positive reports that you can, that you can really hold on to.
Well, one of the other names mentioned by Dan Quinn was Brian Robinson, looking healthy and explosive as well. I don't think we here on Ref the District are as high on him as maybe some others. What did you make of the coach speak on Brian Robinson, if you're reading between the lines?
Like, I guess he didn't have to say that like Thunder says, because no one specifically asked him, I guess, about Brian Robinson. He just got that name out. But I think Dan Quinn has done enough of these interviews where he knows the answer to give because he knows what we want to hear. So he picked B-Rob because he knows that we all know that this is a very important year for B-Rob and our running game. So he's going to glorify our running game because that is a department we were kind of lacking. We really shouldn't be. He's not producing like he should. And yeah, that's why Cliff has been saying he's been focused all off season. That's why Dan Quinn's coming out, shouting him out. It's because they all know within that building that the fans are like, look, this is B-Rob or bust this year, guys. We already know Austin's probably going to leave anyway. He might even retire because he's hurt all the time. But this is B-Rob or bust. And the way they talk about Krosky Merritt is lighting the fire up under B-Rob right now. So it might be a little true, too, that he is more focused because he's got somebody behind him that is pushing for a spot. And he knows this is go time now or else he's not going to be here next year. But, yeah, I think that's just like Stoner's reading between the lines. They're just feeding us what us as fans and reporters and info gatherers want to hear. They're giving us that answer because they've done this so many times. They read the stuff just like us. They're human beings, too. So they know what to say. So I'm not putting too much stock in it. I just think it's because they're trying to people please right now.
I
mean,
I have a beef real quick that I wanted to
yeah,
get out
you said
because
you would. Yeah.
well, we're probably going to have to skip the rivalry discussion as we're coming up on 2 hours right now. But I wanted to talk about this because I've heard this sentiment quite a bit. Jayden Daniels did lead the team in rushing last year. Okay.
Yep.
I would like that not to happen,
Mm-hmm.
but it's interesting how we see that as a bad thing. And that we're like, well, the team sucked at rushing because most of it came from Jayden Daniels. But the Eagles, who had 3,000 yards rushing, 2,000 of that came from Saquon Barkley. The rest of it didn't come from a whole lot of backup running backs. The backup running backs had, I think, like 300, maybe 400, and then it was Jalen Hurts. So answer me this. Why is it seen as such a negative that Jayden Daniels is a large percentage of the rushing attack? Wouldn't that still be a good thing?
Yeah, because it's funny that when Michael Vick had Jamal Anderson behind him and worked on, I think, a little bit, nobody was saying, oh, we can't have Michael Vick. Nobody was saying that. So what's changing now? I mean, literally, nobody's saying that when Lamar's out there running around with his head cut off.
Yeah, Lamar and King Henry
Daniels
seem to work pretty well too. So I don't
so like, if you're gonna give B-Rob the ball 3 straight times on 3 different series and it's 3rd and 8 each time, somebody else got to step up, and it just happens to be our quarterback. Lose me with that. Like it's not a game plan for us to go out there and have a quarterback be the leading rusher. It's not ideal because you want him to throw the ball more and you want him to use his legs when needed to, not be a run first quarterback. That's a different discussion. But okay, let's just have him take sacks and set a record that almost happened for us a year ago. Let's just keep handing the ball off to Austin Eckler and B-Rob and putting us in 3rd and longs all year. We'll just do that. I mean, it's always something, man. Always something.
I'm with both of y'all. Jayden Daniels is a top 5 quarterback if all he does is throw from the pocket.
Yeah.
However, what makes him an MVP candidate are his legs.
Yeah.
Why would you want to hinder that? Why would you want to pull that back? That's what puts him over the top. That's what makes Jayden Daniels special. Are his legs. Don't take that away from him.
Bro, thank you. It's not like we're out here putting Tim Tebow, who's a run-first quarterback, out there, okay? He's not a run-first quarterback.
Would it be better if Brian Robinson rushed for 1,400 yards? Sure.
Absolutely.
I did.
But if you don't have that right now, use what you got, and you got somebody special. And that's really what happened in that run to the finish of last season is they stopped babying Jayden Daniels in the run game. Look at his carries in those final few games as they won all those games down that stretch. When he's rushing the ball 12 times, 14 times, 16 times.
Right.
Look at Brian Robinson's rushes in those last couple of games and even in the playoff games. You're right. In Atlanta, I think he had like 5 rushes for 10 yards or something. And Jayden Daniels had like 16 for 106 and a touchdown. And you won the game. You have to take advantage of that. If he only throws from the pocket, right? And you have a 1,400-yard running back, awesome. That's great too. But if you don't have that 1,400-yarder, let Jayden cook. Let him do what he's got to do out on that field to win football games. And he needed it last year.
And as you see in Baltimore, even when you have a 1,400-yard rusher, you can still have your quarterback run for a significant chunk of yards and be successful.
It's football.
I just hate the narrative around it where it's just like people are disregarding Washington's rushing attack because it became Jayden Daniels as the rushing attack. I'm like, that's still part of the rushing attack. And some of those were design runs. Some of it was scrambling. I get that. But yes, that is one of the many reasons why Jayden Daniels is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. We're not going to get to it this time because we're running out, but we will push this to another time. Rivalries renewed. Who is Washington's biggest rival going forward? Philadelphia fans getting all in their feelings every time their team is mentioned. Like I said at the beginning of the show, they couldn't even understand that I ranked them as the best offensive line.
That's funny.
Over and over again in the comment section, they were diving in there and talking about how I didn't know anything. Well, apparently I don't know anything about football, and I ranked Philadelphia as the best offensive line in the NFC East. Philly fans, stay in your feelings. Another thing,
you
for
won
Philly
a Super
fans,
Bowl. Why are y'all still upset?
I thank you, Trev. Not only did they win a Super Bowl, but you know what the biggest game to them was? It was
the NFC
beating
Championship.
us, the NFC Championship game, putting 55 points on us, because that's all they ever mentioned. If we win the Super Bowl, I guarantee you, I ain't lording over any other game over the NFC East. All I have to do is point to the Lombardi. I don't care that we beat you 55-23. All that matters is the Lombardi in the end. So Philadelphia fans, stay in your feelings. No cool down this time. We had a good conversation about minicamp. And we also talked about the offensive line in the beginning. We appreciate everybody jumping in here with us today. Make sure you hit that like button before you leave. Make sure that you're subbed up to the channel, and make sure that you share it with other people so they can join us. We'll be live again next Wednesday, 7:30 Eastern. Make sure you're here for that. But until next time,
simple. Pay Terry.
Be a fan.